you think Yuji's time has come to an end, or is the power up coming? And if so, how do you think it will go? As far as I'm concerned, I still think we've got a lot to see for Yuji's story, and just future-wise, we still need him to find out that Kenjaku is actually his mother, which the more I say it, the more normal it sounds, but also it's kind of weird. And then probably the most weighted on is we need Yuji to awaken that curse technique, that wonderful curse technique that Gojo said way back when in chapter 12 that Yuji, in due time, will learn Sukuna's technique. And personally, for me, I'd love to see Yuji awaken Black Flash as a technique. And I don't have a lot to back this up except for absolute copium and the fact that when Yuji fought Mahito, he broke the record for Black Flashes used, and he'd done it previously before that anyway. And it was stated that Yuji was so amazing in that fight, he makes you think that he's using Black Flash at will, which I personally thought was a little hint towards him and his potential future abilities. And I also think it'd be symbolic in the series for Yuji to have this kind of attack, who's had his soul crushed and attacked and destroyed so many times throughout the series, to be able to finally dish out the damage to other people's souls for once. As for how this awakening power happens, ARMCAPS on Twitter has produced a theory which I heavily fuck with. If you don't know, JJK has always used different religious themes throughout the series, whether these themes have been used on cursed spirits or sorcerers or just in the scenarios in general. These themes have always been constant. If you type in JJK Buddhism on Google, you're going to find a plethora of these theories or points of reference where JJK has taken inspiration from. However, ARMCAPS points out the theme of samsara for this one particular theory, with him pointing out that becoming a Buddha isn't just for one person. Instead, it's for anyone who will reach a point of enlightenment, of nirvana, basically. For example, Gojo after the fight with Toji. He goes on to say that Yuji, that we know and love, has been born with absolutely horrendous karma, which is true. I mean, unless you haven't been paying attention to the series, this man Yuji has suffered and suffered without any reward or good coming his way in the series. ARMCAPS goes on to mention how the samsara wheel represents the cycle of life and rebirth. And unrelated note, the samsara wheel almost looks exactly like what the Maharaja had on his back. That could be related, it may not be. I feel like it could be related. But say this theory does turn out to be true, Yuji, who we saw in the last chapter, had his chest caved all the way in, and he right now is either the closest to death we have ever seen him in the series, or is dead flat out without any other interference. And yes, I know he's died before, obviously in the series, first one being Sukuna taking his heart only to later bring him back, and then the second one being Yuta to kill him only to instantly revive him. Anyway, this moment right now is the closest we've seen him to real death in the series, and with Yuji in this state and Sukuna ready to take this quote-unquote bath, we might just see the rebirth of not only Sukuna but Yuji, with them two basically being one and the same. Because I want to point out that when Sukuna is inside Megumi's body and we see him in the innate domain, Sukuna still has the appearance of Yuji, which I thought was an interesting tidbit right there. It's possible that when and if this rebirth does happen, Yuji will awaken with his own curse technique, which will more than likely be Sukuna's curse technique, as stated by Gojo. So those are my thoughts and ARMCAP's thoughts, and you should definitely follow ARMCAPS on Twitter. He's a very cool dude. How would Sukuna's twisted humor work with Takaba's technique if he ate him and acquired it? Listen, all I've got to say is this series would be raps if that ever did come to pass. Assuming Sukuna can absorb curse techniques through eating someone, like a lot of people have theorized for a little while now, Takaba's technique is the comedian. Anything this man finds funny will become reality, and it's said to be able to oppose Gojo, and Gojo is stated multiple times to be the strongest in the series. And yes, a lot of people will argue that it's Sukuna, and we'll table that discussion for another video because I am working on that. If Sukuna did take Takaba's technique, then you can bet your sweet bippy that man is turning everyone in the series into a worm and eating them Majin Buu style, because ain't no way he's gonna pass up an opportunity for evil and malice like that. But that being said, I do think within the next couple of chapters we are possibly gonna see Sukuna versus Takaba fight, because I think right now, and I pointed this out in a couple of videos now, is I do think Takaba right now is the only person who's close enough to Sukuna and Yuji who's actually able to fight off Sukuna and buy time for our main cast to get away from him. I think that is Takaba's purpose in this story right now, is just hold off Sukuna until someone can help. I don't know who can help, but I think Takaba is a good opportunity to stand by and help the team and bite off Sukuna for a little bit at least. My question is, how much can Sukuna swallow? Hold up. Pause. What the fuck? My actual question is Gojo versus Sukuna. Who will win, and if Yuji will develop his own curse technique like memory manipulation? If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure Yuji's memory manipulation is said to not be a technique by JJK himself, and it's in fact something else entirely. My theory on that is that it's actually something to do with kenjaku, possibly a curse placed on Yuji and Choso from kenjaku, something that activates whenever Yuji is close to death or danger, or in danger should I say, and makes the attacker think that they're actually related to Yuji to protect him, as kenjaku needs him for his plans. Remember, Todo was beating the absolute brakes off Yuji until all of a sudden Todo just felt like Yuji was his brother, and the same goes for Choso. Choso had badly wounded Yuji, and then all of a sudden he thought Yuji was his brother. Both of these events have something in common, and that was that Yuji was in danger and getting his ass beat, potentially by an unwinnable opponent for Yuji at that time. So it's possible that kenjaku's placed this curse on Yuji for this memory manipulation, and it was there until Yuji basically it filled its purpose in kenjaku's plans as the vessel of Sukuna. That's my theory on that one anyway. It may not be true, it may not be true, but I also have some basis behind that, because Choso, when he encounters kenjaku towards the end of the Shibuya arc, kenjaku turns around, says to him, so you finally remembered, you finally realized, you know what I mean? So it makes me realize, or it makes me think that kenjaku has done something and he's aware of how those two are perceiving him, and that's why my theory is as such. As for the who wins on Gojo versus Sukuna, honestly, I'm gonna need a whole other video on this matter, because with all the facts and everything that we've seen so far, we need to get some proper insight on this. But my short answer is that I think Gojo will win, but I don't think it's gonna be the victory that he wants or needs. I think it's gonna be a very hard fought battle, and I think he's gonna lose a lot in the process, whether that be physically, mentally, or friendship wise, or student wise. I think Gojo does win, because that's how he's been set up to win in the story, and the only way people have been able to beat him so far is by sealing him, and I think he will win, but I think it will come at a very, very heavy cost. But that is everything from me. A massive shout out to all the members on the channel. If you want to join and become a special grade, click the join button down below. Just keep the dream alive on the old YouTube channel here. But as always, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think of the video in the comments down below, as they always help. And I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Much love. Big kisses. Peace. My question is how much consume.